Howdy. I'm just figuring out how to get this on a second device so that I can hopefully not miss comments. So I'm setting that up while I'm waiting for you to come in. Just in case I can't see all the comments while I'm doing the nails. I'm trying to set up this secondary device. Hey Tori. Hey Jan. How's everyone doing today? Hey Hannah. Hi Alpha. All right. So I need to refresh this. We'll get that set up. I want to make sure that Shalina and I aren't missing any comments while we're doing the nails. We will try to read the comments to each other. And this is actually my first Instagram live. I'm so excited. Shalina has a little more experience than me, so hopefully she can help me out. Hey, BFF Mel. And I'm not seeing that I can look at a second device. It's not showing me my own live. Super. So we may have to go back through and look for comments. If we miss any, please forgive us. We are going to do our best to try and catch everyone's comments. Let me go grab Shalina. There she is. We're going to bring Shalina in. Today's live is about showing you how to do a runway nail, because I know a lot of you are really curious about how to do a runway nail. Hey Shalina!
Hi!
Yay.
How are you doing?
Good.
Hi everyone!
So I was just starting to tell them that today's live, we are going to try our best to catch their comments.
Absolutely.
I thought I would use a secondary device like I do on Facebook, but Instagram doesn't let you pull up your own live like Facebook does.
Tricky, tricky.
We're going to have to read the comments to each other.
Hey, Winnie.
Celia.
So good to see you guys.
Our idea is to show you how to do a runway nail because Shalina is, hello, backstage awesomeness.
You know, it takes a village. It really takes a village. I just, yeah, I think there's some misconceptions about Fashion Week sometimes that it's like super glamorous and all of that good stuff. It's like an endurance sport, to be honest.
I like that.
It is. If you're really doing Fashion Week like C&D does, or even I think of the girls that are doing MTNA right now, I know that they can completely relate to the fact that this is an endurance sport. When you get to that level, it's a lot of time, hours, love, and attention that really go into it. And childbirth, as Winnie said, because honestly, like you leave Fashion Week exhausted and you think, why did I do that? But then it all, like once you get a little rest, you're like, oh my God, that was the most amazing experience ever. And I think the misconception is that runway nails aren't really realistic. But if you really look at how they're created, you can see that they're often built in layers. And so there's a few like key trends that can be translated really easily. And that's what we're doing today, is you're going to show how you translate something that was on the runway for the blondes a couple seasons ago.
Yeah. And just taking that runway art, you know, a lot of times we will see, and one of the big things for me, C&D always posts the stuff from Fashion Week on their, they'll show the stuff from backstage, they'll show all of the looks, and they've got that digital lookbook that they put out. And I've always, in the beginning, when I was first with C&D, I thought, who cares about New York Fashion Week? All that stuff is weird. The clothes are weird. The people are weird. I live in the Midwest. Like, no one.
Why are you calling me weird?
I know.
Why?
And
stop. It hurts.
But really, I know. And so the really cool thing for me has been the journey to understanding the beauty of Fashion Week and coming to the point that it makes sense, because
living in the sunshine
is beautiful in its own way. And understanding
Hi, Jan.
behind the vision helps it make sense.
It
And
does.
once you gather the artistic vision, then it's not so overwhelming. And then you can break it down more into artistic vision instead of, oh, that's just weird. It doesn't make sense for the Midwest. It isn't, okay, I have to put these giant, 3-inch tall nails on my agent. I don't have to put those giant 3-inch tall nails on my clients. I can use my nail eyes and translate those into something that's wearable. And it's
Yeah.
the same thing that designers are doing with their clothes. People aren't necessarily wearing exactly what they're wearing on the runway. Designers are translating that
Hi,
into
Carmen.
trends that are wearable. And so you have to change your perspective. And
Mm-hmm.
what made a huge difference for me is changing my perspective, because I love things that are weird.
Winnie
Oh,
likes weird. I like weird. And I have to tell you that for art, like as artists, I know
mhm,
you do the same thing in your salon, and especially like when you're teaching a class or you're connecting at an event with somebody, the connection that you get with other nail pros is really what pushes you to the next level. Like that's what I love about the design lab. The opportunity to work with so many gifted people that see art from so many different perspectives. I always learn something new, and it forms a whole community that supports each other and just lifts each other up. So that's
that,
why I love it the most. And I think it takes science and it pushes it past its boundaries in a way so that we can find new and new products that we need to use in the salon and new techniques that will continue to thrill our clients every day.
and so changing our perspective to, let's look at the people at Fashion Week as visionaries instead of oddballs. Let's look
Well,
at visionaries and take what the visionaries are doing and make it realistic for our regions. Because what my style of weird that I think is awesome may not be what your style of weird that you think is awesome. And your definition of really cool and trendy in the salon is going to be different than what I think is really cool and trendy in the salon.
exactly.
And the cool thing is, in this day and age, sometimes you can be the one that sets the trends for your region.
Yeah,
Your clients trust
absolutely.
you, build in that trust. That's the purpose.
Yeah.
So readjust your perspective of Fashion Week and see what people at Fashion Week are doing as they're the visionaries, and you're now the interpreter of the vision.
Yes. It's about the technique. It's not about whether you like my art, because you may have a very different view of art from me, but the techniques are real and valid, and they're meant to take and make your own. You have ownership, and that's when art becomes beautiful, is when you take the ownership and control of the techniques. So, oh, hi, Tori and Marion and Fias and Manic Mary. Everybody's joining us. So we got a few joiners. And that's why one of our ideas here is we want to share the love and include as many people. Like there's so much talent out there, and I challenged myself because for those of you who know me, I'm like the guns and bombs and weapons sort of girl. So I don't typically, not
Look,
floral. I've been asked to do lots of floral lately, but it's not my specialty. So I have to take tips and tricks from other people who are more experienced and do a far better job. So what I challenged myself with was creating some 3D roses. I wanted to do it for a long time, and I learned from Ashley Craig. I've learned from Tracy Lee. I've picked up little tips and tricks along the way, and then I have to make it my own and come up with a whole new way to make it. Hi, Nail Art by Sig. So what we're hoping to do today is to take this floral garden. We're going to show you a few looks. We're going to show a technique from the runway, and then Holly's going to translate it. But what we really want to do is afterwards, we're going to post a picture. We're going to tag a bunch of artists that we know. And then we're going to ask them to tag their friends, and we want them to use this hashtag, hashtag nail rose garden. That way, when you search out nail art, you're going to see an amazing array of different types of floral artwork. And you can find your favorites and look at those people who can offer you those techniques.
And then look at the work from the visionaries, and then you can be like me and be a translator and translate it into what you see for your region, because you'll have
Thank you, Winnie.
great ideas from the visionaries. And the cool thing is we can respect the visionaries without agreeing with their vision.
Right.
That's love. I've learned to respect all the work that goes into the fashion week. And I've learned to love all of the looks and all of the girly colors. Like, I don't like pink and purple. Ew. But now I've come to really respect the different tones and the different values and all the different looks that you can get from it. And
Hi, Topcoat nails.
color is purple. So I've really learned to respect and enjoy those visions and how I can translate, because guess what? Some of my clients love those colors. And you have to challenge yourself as an artist to do the same thing. Translate
Exactly.
no matter what.
Translate it. Learn the techniques. Don't be frustrated if it doesn't come to you naturally. Not every type of art is going to work for every person. Like I said, I'm not necessarily a 3D sculptor. I had to have a lot of patience and practice to get there. So try on a different type of art if this one's not working for you. And not only is it not a different type of art, but sometimes within a category like marbling, there's a lot of different ways you can create a marble. So if one technique's not working and you're not getting the right result, try a different one.
Yes. So our key message is A, transition your perspective to respect.
Mm-hmm.
And step out of your box, have fun.
Absolutely.
We're
Ready to take a look?
Yeah.
Want to see what I did? I think you posted a picture of it. We've got the triple chin swivel happening over here. Let's see what we can do to give you a better view. So here we have a look that we did for the blondes. And one of the things that I've wanted to do is make these roses. And it was so crazy and time consuming. But as you can see, I've got like my little step-by-step here. And it actually starts with Sandy shellac. And you can see that there's several wearable versions that you could try on in the salon simply by like backing off the layers. So we started out with a crystal clear tip, and then we did some marbling. And then we matted the marble out, as you can see here. The purpose of the matting it out was to provide a base for the next step. The next step was stamping with C&D shellac and cream puff. You can see a very light rose pattern there. So by putting the mat down first, I was able to only adhere my chrome to the rose pattern that I stamped on the nail. So that was my next level. And then I took it to one step further, and I used a really beautiful gold chrome from Social Claus. This is like a 24 karat gold. There's a lot out there, but this one's really, really pretty. And from there, that was my base. That's where I started. Now, I feel like you could wear marble in the salon, whether it's matte or shiny. I feel you could layer the marble with some stamping, and you can add some chrome to it. Super simple way to break it down and take it from there. But if you don't like these techniques, I want you to find the look that inspires you and maybe try on the technique.
And two
So,
quick
go
TJ
ahead.
mentioned she would like to master marbling. TJ, was it last week that you guys did your marble throwdown, Shalina?
I think, yes, it was, and it should still live somewhere. Let's ask our favorite. Winnie is awesome because she knows better than me. She knows where things live, and I often don't, and have to call her and say, I've got another question, Winnie. Where do the lives go when they are all done? And they do have a home. I know they
Yes.
do.
Yes. So
and she maybe can chime in here. I know there's a little bit of a delay, so we'll wait and see what pops up, but we will definitely get you an answer to that. And you
yeah.
can go check out the 3 different types of marbling and see which one works best for you. So you can see that the blondes are obviously a little theatrical, but I was so inspired by their roses. The roses that they created for the Moulin Rouge show were so incredibly detailed. And if you really look at the amount of detail that goes into the work itself, you can see that the roses are all hand created using C&D retention plus liquid with our perfect color powders, and they're done in 2 tones. They've been embellished with beautiful little Swarovski crystal pixie. The polished pinky chimed in. Our marbling tutorial is on our IGTV at C&D World, so make sure you check that out. C&D World is having some fabulous education opportunities daily. So here we go. This is a 2-tone rose on a beautiful base, and then I've added a little bit of embellishments to it. It's available for 24-hour on the host profile. It says Winnie.
Facebook page. And then when you used the matte top coat, does the matte top coat eliminate the need for buffing to get rid of the shine and the sticky?
Yes, that's a great question, Holly. So when I used the matte top coat on these looks, as I built this layer up, as I applied the matte top coat, I obviously cured it in the C&D lamp using butt number 3. I then stamped over the top, and it went back into the lamp for a second cure with the stamp for another minute using button 2S, and that helps some of the solvents evaporate out. Of course, I wiped the top film off this nail before I stamped it so that I could then use the chrome over the top of it. So that will eliminate the need to buff. But you do have to properly wipe it really thoroughly, and then let those solvents evaporate out so that you can definitely get the best chrome and it doesn't smear over the whole surface.
Sweet, that's a handy time saver.
Yes, it is. It's a super handy time saver. So for me, the tip that I'm going to show here, for those of you who would like to see a start to finish tutorial, this nail actually took me, because I'm slow at sculpting 3D, this nail actually took me about 6 hours to make one nail. So obviously this isn't a salon technique. These little petals are all individually created and then wrapped around the head of a pin. So what you're going to need to create the roses is you're going to need a little stick pin, and then you are going to need your perfect color powders. If you want the exact same colors that I'm using the warm pink opaque, and then I'm using our pure white opaque, and I'm going to do a double dip. So I'll pick up first one color and then a second color so that I get a beautiful marbled bead. And then I'm using my all-time salon favorite, my Retention Plus. Sorry, you can tell I love it a lot, but Retention Plus liquid. And there's a few tricks and tips that you really need to know when you're working with this that I didn't know when I started. One, I start off by putting my monomer in my dappen dish. I fill it to the fill line. But I could never get the petals to bend properly. And I always had a hard time getting them to mold the way that I wanted them to. And they dry too quickly, or I couldn't get them off the paper, or I'd pick it up and it'd tear. So I was talking with Ashley when she was with us at Fashion Week, and they have a secret. You can use pure acetone in your monomer. Keep in mind, this is not what we're going to ever work on a human being for. This is for 3D nail art that's done off of the client. You can always add them later as an embellishment in a smaller version if you like in the salon, but you're never going to mix acetone unless you're doing 3D nail art. So I'm just taking a couple drops. I'm going to place that in my monomer. I'm going to give it a little stir. What the acetone is going to do, I keep a separate brush for this as well, because I definitely don't want to contaminate my regular brush with acetone, because it's never a good practice. So this is a brush that's meant for art only. I'm going to blend the acetone in it, but what the acetone is going to do is it gives you more flexibility and a little bit more leniency in molding it. So that's my first tip, is to add 2 or 3 drops, start there, And you'll notice that when you pick it up and you place it, there's like this fine window. So we're going to work on the back of a C&D form paper. So I've already removed the form, and you see this slick surface.
Can you go up in that top right-hand corner out from behind the comments?
There you go. Is that better for you?
Yes.
Okay, we'll leave the beautiful rose garden here.
There we go.
And we will
Instagram live because the
move. Yeah, those darn comments. But we love you. So here we are. We're going to wet the brush out. We're going to get it into shape. And like I said, this is a special brush just for 3D sculpting. So once you pick up your liquid, I'm going to count to 3 there so I get a good mix ratio. I'm going to take my first color. We're going to start with white, which is what I did here. I'm going to pick up a bead of white, look at it, make sure my texture is there, telling me my mix ratio is good. Then I'm going to double dip into my second color. And this is going to add like a two-tone bead. Can you see I've got a very soft pale peach and a white. So I've got a bead that's half and half. That's what I'm going to work with. Now, if you wait too long, obviously, it's going to be too dry to really work with. So I'm going to drop that one, and I'm going to do it in real time. So pick up the correct mix ratio, drag it through the first powder, drag it through the second powder, looking for correct mix ratio, and then we're going to take that bead. I'm going to kind of nudge it off the brush, and I'm going to pull the pink forward with the tip of the brush. And this is going to create a marbled effect. This way I don't have to come back and do a lot of additional detail. I can pull my color down. And what I'm doing is I want to create a petal-like shape. When I started, I didn't realize how important this was. Like, I want to poke the top up in the middle. I want to press it out to the sides. That's the top of the rose petal. Now the bottom is what's going to be attached to the head of the pin. So I'm going to pull that down a little bit skinnier, flatten it out, and give myself a good start. Here's my next tip. Be patient. It takes a minute. I have no patience, so I would go in immediately with my brush like a little cookie spatula, and I would try to get up underneath of it, but it's not ready for that yet. It needs just a few seconds. So let's kind of count and see how long this is going to take. What I want you to be looking at when you're looking at this petal is it's super shiny right now. What I'm waiting for the petal to do is start to turn just a little bit matte. Once I see the surface of it turning matte, then I'm going to be ready to pick up. So I want to have it ready. Typically, the first petal, I always make the center petals solo because I'm slow still. Some people like to lay a bunch of petals down because they're really quick at this, and that's perfectly fine. If you're already at that level, go for it. I like the first time, if you've never picked up a brush to 3D sculpt a rose, give it the opportunity to really watch what your product's doing. Let's take another close peek. Do you see how the surface is changing there?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm looking for. That means I am ready to do my next step. And some people will pick the petal up off of.
Slide back up to the top for us.
Okay.
Comments
Some people,
there you go.
People will pick up the petal from the top. And this is also the only time I'm going to use just a little bit of monomer without polymer, because I need to use my brush as a spatula, and that's a little slip agent. So you're noticing I'm wearing gloves. Definitely don't want to be touching this. And then I'm going to take my brush to the other side and see how it's already drying. That's where the patience comes in. You've got to time it just right. Now, all is not lost, because this can actually harden right here on my form, and I've already got the center started. What will happen is that hardens, even though it's partially polymerized, it would tear right now if I pull it up. Once it's dry, it's just going to pick right up off the form. So that's my first tip. If you're struggling to get the center rose petal wrapped around the pin, don't pull it up off of the form back. Leave it on the form back so that you can then just pick it up once it's dry. So if you're doing multiple roses, I'll do like 3 or 4 centers at a time, and then I'm ready to move on. So we're gonna let that sit for a second, and we're gonna make our next petal. And basically the process is the same. You can play with colorations, do the two-tone bead dip. You can do it in single color. You can paint it afterwards. You can embellish it. You can make it shiny. You can make it matte. You can do whatever you like with it. So again, I'm looking for that correct mix ratio with a two-tone bead. And this, the beauty of this is every petal has a little bit different color. If you really look at these roses, they have a variegated petal, which really resembles a true rose, like a two-tone rose in real life. So I like having every petal be just a little bit different color. So when you're ready to go to the next bead, this guy needs just a couple seconds. And while that's happening, I've got this guy who's drying. Let's test him and see if he's dry enough. There you go. So this was my first tip because I could never get that first petal properly wrapped around my little pinhead without tearing it apart. So for me, this is one of my tips is if you're struggling with that in the beginning, try it this way and see if that makes a difference because it certainly helped me. These are some of my very first roses like this on a pin. I've seen them created on the form itself. There's so many different ways. That's why I'm saying I will really want you guys to tag your artist friends if you're on here. If you have floral nail art, please, share it, hashtag nail rose garden, and let us see it. People they need the solutions. Okay, so now we have our first petal that needs to be applied to our guy here. And you can see how he just picks up. I'm going to roll it over. You want to lay the petals over top of each other. So they overlap. They don't like line up perfectly. A natural rose, that's a little blown out, isn't it? There we go. Let me get my hand out of the way. And now I'm just simply laying it, overlapping, and I'm just going to come in and kind of press around the base. This is important. You want this to be nice and flat if you can get it there. And then you can take and just kind of press your leaves in the center and keep going. And that's essentially all you need to make a rose. That's the start of it. You just repeat it over and over again until you get the rose of your desired effect. You can tuck it in if you want a little more texture, but you have a little bit of extra working time because of those couple drops of acetone. So you can see how it's still soft, it's still moldable on the last petal. And now once I've got my base done, I would go in and I would start doing 2 to 3 petals at a time, depending on how fast you are. And then it gets a little bit faster. Once your rose is created, you're just going to take a pair of wire snips and cut the pin off the bottom. And then you can liquid and powder them to the nail that you're working on. Do we have any questions so far about this technique? Have you tried anything else that works really well for you? I know we've probably got a couple people who do some 3D sculpting. I know Tori has done some beautiful roses. I've seen Winnie. Oh, and I love Sarah's chalkboard nails. She's got a fun sort of pop art take on hers, which I truly admire. Her line work is so incredible.
Takes a lot of patience.
It does. But I know she gave me some tips and tricks about this at all. So thank you, Sarah. I'm glad you were able to come and join us, and I can't wait to see what you post. I know you're going to gather along. So here's an example of what happens when you get a little bit of a hurry. You start to get your petals out of shape. It doesn't mean it's ruined. You can press it back down and let it sit for another couple seconds. And or sometimes when I'm in an impatient mess, you can still use this piece. It's all about placement. So it's better if you're not impatient, but it doesn't mean it's absolutely ruined. if you are a little impatient. So I can use that as a center layer, and I just have to make sure that my next petal is large enough that it covers this base here. So not all is lost, even if you're not doing it perfectly. Practice is going to make it perfect, and they're going to end up beautiful. So if there aren't any fat, oh, was that Kit Cash nails on there? That was my girl. She got me started with this. So thank you so much for that, Ashley. And thank you to Tracy Lee and all of you who have inspired me to love flowers, because they are beautiful, very pretty and gorgeous. I still like bombs and guns better, but okay. I want you to try this on and see what you think, because then you can make some incredible blonde nails like we did for the Moulin Rouge show. Any thoughts on that, Holly? Do you want to show them what you got?
I think that is really cool. And it definitely even could be, you could do a smaller version that would be wearable of that.
Absolutely. You could so do a smaller version. Like I said, I've often see them start on the paper as well and just build up from the center, like petals. You can certainly do that, creating a flat back on it. If you want, it's because we really wanted drama for the blonde show, then go for the drama and use the pin as a base, because that's also easy, but absolutely wearable. It will also take your, if you like to do some 3D nail art in the salon, a lot of people love roses and stuff. It really makes a big difference.
Yes. Fun. And Shalina is going to post, are you going to show them the pixies?
You know what? I did not show them the pixies, but I certainly can. So the pixies went on. Here I've got a little tray of some beautiful pixies. I'm just going to walk you through this. I would use C&D Shellac Original or Duraforce Top Coat. I wouldn't go with anything like Shellac Express 5. It's a little too thin. You really want to make sure that you get those seated in there, because you don't want to lose those beautiful little crystals. And I'm just going to take that and put it on a piece of form backing, or if you have a palette, that's great too. And then you can see this is my Crystal Pixie line brush. Look at his hair. He's had a really hard day, but he's super good for making sure you get your pixies on. So to use your pixies to outline the rose, I just took a little detail brush, and if I wanted to add a few more right here, let's go up here. I can just come in here and I put a little bit, I'm going to add some extra depth there. And the reason I love this little detail brush to do this, rather than, I love my katana for bigger crystals, but these little guys are a little bit challenging to work with at times. So I just take my brush and use it like a katana, pick those up, and now I've got a little bit of top coat as well as the pixies, and I just place those in. And once you get them all situated, you are just going to cure that and wipe them. But I wouldn't recommend a lint-free pad, because that will catch all of the little furry babies. Yes. So I always just take a cosmetic sponge and moisten it with IPA and then just wipe it off after it's cured. So super simple technique for that.
Super cool.
What you got for us, Holly? I want to see some Realway.
I'm going to translate that into some salon nails. Let me glove up.
It is pretty simple, but it will take practice. I did see that comment. But as with all things, if you're looking to try on something new and elevate your nail art, it's a great time to practice. I know a lot of us are getting bored and lonely. I mentioned NTNA. I know there are also a lot of like photography competitions coming up that are held by various sorts. So do a search on that. Like if you're craving a new challenge, look for ways to stay productive and happy, because I love it when I can fall down a rabbit hole and just create something beautiful. It takes your mind off all the worries. Thank you, Winnie. I love you too. Hi, Nail Shop Mama.
And if you're not a shellac user, when you're working with those crystal pixies, you basically want a medium or thick viscosity top coat.
Exactly.
All right, so my first translation is using my nail eyes to almost duplicate.
Hi, nail shop mama.
So I've incorporated the stamping and the outlining and the 3D element and the shimmer element, and this is going to be our finished look. You want to start off with 2 layers of a whitish or a pale color. I happen to use White Wedding and shellac. And then using a palette, a tile, whatever you have handy, and a detail brush. You can use a detail brush or a striping brush, whatever you find easiest to do lines with. And then a metallic color of some sort. I'm going to use Bellini and shellac. Put a little bit of it on your palette. You want to pull your brush that you're going to do the lines with through the color. And then really clean that brush out so that there's not a lot of excess on that brush. Then we're going to outline those edges of the nail to get that outlined effect that she had on that Fashion Week nail. Use your balance point positioning, and that will really help you get that little bit more steady hand for those lines. The softer you touch with the brush, the easier it is to get a crisp line. If you really put a lot of push or strength into the brush, you'll find that your line gets really wide and it's difficult to keep it nice and clean. If you need to clean up your line a little bit, if you're not happy with a spot, you can use a little bit of alcohol and a gel brush to crisp it up. So I've got just this little piece here that doesn't make me happy. So just take a little alcohol in your gel brush, crisp it up, and you're good to go. Put that in the lamp and cure him. Yay, the magic of Instagram. He's cured. You're ready to incorporate your stamping element next. Choosing a background for stamping. You want something that is not going to completely take over the design. So looking at stamping plates, kind of look at things that have a pattern, but not really an overwhelming pattern. Something like this. For this look, I decided this gradiated line pattern kind of went with the idea and the element of the rose. Lay down this little guy so it doesn't completely wipe out my table towel to pick up the stamp. I'm going to stamp with a quick dry polish. In this case, I'm using Bellini and Vinylux because it matches my little outline. A trick when you're stamping with quick dry polish is to have everything ready to go. That means the lid is off your stamper. That means your scraper is right beside you. Everything is ready to go. Because when you're stamping with a quick dry polish. If you have to go take the lid off your stamper, or you have to go grab your scraping card, your polish is going to dry on you before you can get it picked up. Just a couple swipes on the thing, pick him up, look through, put it where I want it. The cool thing about scraping with polish is you can clean it up a little bit if you need to. You can do this with acetone. Using a little bit of acetone and a detail brush, if some of your polish got where you didn't want it, just take your detail brush and clean it up with the acetone. Or if your stamp didn't cleanly stamp somewhere, like if I want to add a little bit up here, take a little bit of your polish, and I'm just going to use the stamping plate for a palette because it's right there. Pull some onto your brush and fill in anywhere the stamp didn't transfer. Then you have a good stamp transfer and you can clean up anything that you're not happy with. We're going to apply some matte top coat because we're kind of going for that look that Shalina had. I'm going to use C&D matte top coat. You can use your favorite matte. Make sure you get your edges nice and sealed. And slide that bad boy in to cure it. Yay, the magic of Instagram. It's nice and cured. I'm going to quick clear a few things out of my way. How are we doing so far? Does the translation make sense?
How many of you are already stamping in the salon? Want to show me a wave of hands? Yeah, great, nice. Nice, okay, yeah. Stamping is really fun with C&D products. I love stamping with Vinylux, and I love that tip, Holly, about a little touch-up with a fine line brush. Hi, TJ. Yes, C&D lover. So we've got a lot of stampers out there already. Do you stamp with both? If you're using C&D products, have you tried stamping with Vinylux and shellac? Like at different times, of course. Carmen, nice. Carmen Glover. So you notice I used shellac to stamp because I wanted that sticky film to create my next level of art. But I love Vinylux over the top of shellac because the pattern dries so beautifully and it makes such a beautiful clean transfer. You should try it. So the trick that Holly just showed you, she actually, when she picks that color up, it allows it to dry. If you allow it to dry, it like transfers perfectly to that sticky top film that you get with C&D shellac. The color's bold.
Baby smile.
Yep.
So basically kind of a peachy pink of your choice.
We've got a quick question from Nails by Cecilia, Tampa. She hasn't been able to get shellac to work for her. Is there any special color she should use? Holly, do you have any tips on that you want to?
For stamping with shellac, the biggest trick is patience. When you're wanting to get the shellac to pick up pigment for the stamping, you have to let it sit on the stamping plate for just a sec. It needs to allow some of those solvents to evaporate. so that it leaves the pigments behind. Remember, shellac is a little bit different than the usual gel polish. So let it sit on the stamping plate for a couple of seconds, pick it up on the stamper, let it sit on the stamper for a couple of seconds, and then place it. So
Yeah.
you don't work with it as quickly as you work with a nail polish or a gel polish.
Yeah, that's a great tip, Holly, but I know where you're coming from because I struggled with it in the beginning as well because you noticed my impatience if you were here at the beginning of the video. Like, I have no patience. So when you have those older bottles of shellac that you're getting down to the bottom of, a lot of times they have a few less solvents and a few more pigments in them. And I'll save those older bottles that are almost empty. They make great stamping shellac
Yes,
bottles.
definitely. That's very, very true. For the rose, I like to use a very extra small stylus and then a small stylus. So I've got two different sizes going on. For the first one, starting off, dip it into your gel polish or your shellac. Make a little comma. And we're literally going to dot with it because we don't want the lines to be perfect. So use dots and make a little comma. Then dip again and use dots and make a little comma that comes out from the center of that comma, being sure that your lines don't touch. And make this comma just a little bit bigger than the other comma. So it kind of wraps around a little bit, like the second comma is giving the first comma kind of a hug. Then switch over to the small side of your stylus versus the extra small. Dip it in. And now we're going to start where that last comma left off. And using a dot motion so that the line isn't perfect, just follow around until you go past the opening from the first two. Then stop, start again until you go past the opening from the last two. And go past this one a little ways. Don't stop immediately. Go past a ways so that this comes around a little past half of itself. See what I mean? It's almost a big C. Then stop, give it a space, and start going around again. Go outside of itself from the one that you worked on before. And you can make these as big or as small as you want to. And then kind of stop wherever you like. Once you have that rose to the size that you like, put something underneath it and grab your clear polymer powder. In this case, I'm going to use Retention Plus Clear because it's clear, clear. Scoop it up and just sprinkle some on there and let it hang out for a minute. Letting it hang out gives the powder a chance to absorb into your gel polish or your shellac. Yeah, that's a great point, Sarah. The beautiful thing about doing roses or other flowers is that the beauty in floral designs is their imperfection. Once you've given it a couple seconds, kind of tap off the excess, toss that in the lamp to cure. Yay for Instagram. This one is cured. You'll want to rub that off with your IPA. Get him nice and clean. And then to give it the fancy sparkle that Shalina had, if you don't have crystal pixies or if your client is a bit of a picker, pardon me, and so we don't trust them with crystal pixies or whatever the case may be, an option is glitter paste. So we can take a medium viscosity top coat, like Shellac Original, put a little bit in a dish, and then a little bit of a microglitter. And mix them together.
Who doesn't love a good glitter paste? Everything is better with glitter.
Right? It's so much fun.
Hi, Melissa. How are you doing?
Then, much in the same way that Shalina added the Crystal Pixies with a detail brush, we can come in with our glitter paste and go along that inside edge of our rose with the glitter paste and achieve that same sparkle effect. So in this manner, we've used our nail eyes to translate something very similar to what we saw on that runway nail. And you can get as happy with the glitter paste as you like. You can go really lightly with it. If you get a little too happy with the glitter paste and you kind of want to back off a little bit, you can come back in with your stylus and kind of cut through the glitter paste. To make the lines more defined. So it's really personal preference how you want your finished flower to look. Then you would put that in the lamp and cure it. And this is how your finished nail could look.
Nice. Carmen
So
loves it. She says it's gorgeous. We've got a
yeah,
few new people who've joined us, so we're happy to see that you were able to join us. And I think, Holly, you're going to save this somewhere, right? It's going to live
yeah.
somewhere, have a home.
We'll put it on the FingerNailFixer YouTube.
Perfect.
This is
And
fingernail salon hack #1.
cool, cool. And for those of you who weren't here for the original, like 3D sculpted roses, you'll be able to pick up the little bits and pieces I shared of the technique for sculpting 3D elements with liquid and powder on FingerNailFixer's YouTube. But I'm also going to go ahead and do I have a whole video that will be out probably no later than tomorrow morning. So if you want to see like the marbling technique, you can catch like the basics of those techniques as well. The stamping with shellac technique I'll show, the chrome as well. So you'll see all the little steps. So if you wanted to even just recreate the base nail or try on some of the techniques with a different style completely, you'll be able to pick that up as well.
Sweet. You're so awesome.
You're
For
awesome.
the next one, I wanted to make sure that you understood that you can look at the nails from Fashion Week and use them as strictly inspiration. You don't have to interpret them as they are. You can use them strictly as inspiration. So I've looked at her nails and kind of taken away, hey, I really like that shimmery, blush-ish kind of idea. However, I want to translate the roses differently. So I've used the color Soiree Strut in Shellac. So just take kind of a metallic gel polish that makes you happy. And let's do a different style of roses. Let's roll with some yellow. I'm going to be using Jellied. And a detail brush. I want to get a decent amount of the shellac or the gel polish in my detail brush. Because I'm literally going to set it down and kind of just make a little curve. So just set it down and curve. And then make a little curve that comes back the opposite side, just in this little empty area right here. So just a little tiny curve that fills in that empty spot. Same right over here, kind of down below it, going the opposite direction. So a big curve, and then a smaller curve. Then get a little blob on the end of your brush and literally just dot a little blob. Then really clean your brush down so it comes to a pretty fine point. And come up to the top of your flowers and bring them to a nice point.
Yeah, Holly's tip earlier about letting the shellac sit in the stamp applies with line work as well. If you're finding that some of the colors are a little more sheer and you're looking for a little more potent color, you can put a little drop out and let it set so these solvents will evaporate and it will just give you a little more pigment to work with.
Now my little shapes kind of came together a little bit here, so I'm just going to use a stylus to separate them.
Yeah, chalkboard nails. I know, I've seen your line work. I am so jealous of it. It is so precise.
I'm gonna
Yeah, it only needs like 30 seconds to get a little thicker and give you a little more pigment.
Yes, it's very helpful. I'm gonna grab a dark green. This is Aura, for those of you that use shellac. And then a silver. And this is After Hours for those of you that use shellac. And I've just put that in the lamp for 10 seconds to lock my rosebuds into place.
I know, I'm addicted to Aura. This is like the best, richest, deepest green. I cannot get enough of it. I agree with you, Winnie.
For this, we really want detailed lines, and we want them to be nice and thin. So I'm going to clean my brush out really well with some alcohol. Dry them off. I'm going to come in the Aura and then really wipe out the excess color. So that the brush tip is nice and thin with the color. And using very, very gentle pressure, just barely touch the nail.
Which brush is that, Holly?
The little brushes that I use are from Atwood.
Yes. So it's like maybe a 00 or 0, maybe?
I have no idea. They're little.
Yeah, it looks like maybe about a 0 guy.
I love them because they're tiny and they have lids that screw on.
Great for when you're traveling.
Yes. Once you have your stems in place, a fabulous trick that I just learned watching Rochelle's live on the C&D Facebook yesterday is you can make a little line where you want to put your leaves and then make your leaf and it's much easier to plan out. That was a really fabulous trick.
I know Sandy Lover After Hours is beautiful as well. It's really an amazingly saturated metallic silver, and it creates like this beautiful, like almost sheer shimmer. I like it too.
So you can Is there a time limit on lives? This is my first Instagram live. Was there a time limit that I didn't know about? Hello. I'm guessing there's a time limit and I didn't know there was a time.
I have no idea. You can't, yeah. One
We'll have
second.
to tell us.
Right? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either.
Carmen thinks so. I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah, this is my, so if there's a time limit, sorry about that. Oops. And it didn't give me the option to save it, so I'm gonna have to figure out how to do that.
I don't know.
Post it to my story, so I'll have to see if I can save it from my story.
I bet you can.
All right. So come in.
It's 1 hour apparently.
Oh.
Winnie is back. Hello.
I didn't know there was a 1 hour time limit. My bad.
Hello. Thanks for coming back. Hi, Sabrina. Hi, Winnie. Winnie says you need to screen record.
What does that mean?
There's a screen record button on your options. If you pull down, are you iPhone?
Yes.
Yep, if you pull down from the top right corner, there's a little screen record. You may have to enable it in settings though.
Oh, crap.
But maybe, hey.
Well, if this isn't on my YouTube, it's because my bad.
Well, maybe you can always just like redo the styles and we can take yours and mine and just, you can do what you want with it.
Tutorial if we have to. Once you have your little lines in, then just take your brush and kind of clean it out really well. And just go down and just press along your stem to make little thorns. And pop that in.
Yeah. It looks good. Yeah, we're new at this too, if you can't tell.
Right? Oops. It's my first time. My bad. Once you have your roses with the stems cured, take a thick viscosity top coat. I'm going to use Duraforce. Yeah, we may need Winnie to give us a tutorial on it.
She's been trying. I don't know how successfully that's absorbed into me, apparently.
I tried to like watch videos and look up tutorials, but none of them said you had an hour time limit. I feel pertinent information that should have been like highlighted on things. Grab your top coat.
So Winnie's laughing at us. Or me, I should say. I'm sure she's laughing at me more often than not. Winnie, I have another dumb question.
At least we're entertained.
That's right. That's right. Winnie knows everything. She does.
That's why she's awesome.
Yep.
All right, I feel like I contaminated that top coat with green, so I'm going to put new top coat down.
We love you too, Winnie. We love all of you. And we're really hoping you'll take some time to post some of your floral nail art because we want to see it too. And like I said, we want to do a virtual nail garden. So we'd love you to use the hashtag Rose Nail Garden.
Nail Rose Garden.
Nail Rose Garden. See, I can't even get that right today. So yeah, tag us, use the hashtag Nail Rose Garden, and let's see how many virtual nail flowers we can create. I want to see all your fun looks so
Yep.
I can be inspired by your work and learn something new.
So I'm just going to pick up Topcoat and put it on my 2 largest rosebuds.
Nail Zen Sensation wants to know if it has to be roses. No, I want to see all flowers. I had a highlight the other day when somebody sent me some beautiful lilac nail art, which was really pretty and different. So yeah, no, whatever flowers you want. Pop art, 3D, 2D, we don't care. Watercolor, just all the flowers.
And then Sunshine Kiss Crystal Pixies. Ooh. And I am going to use my crystal katana.
See, there's always more than one way to approach everything. You just got to find the right one for you.
I might steal your little brush idea. I like it.
It's an impatience issue again. If I have to, I will use the katana. For the tiny little babies, it makes me crazy. So I really like using like a little line brush and picking up like a whole line of them and laying them on there.
Nice. Now I will use the line brush to come back in and kind of mush them around where I want them and make sure they've got top coat up around the edges of them. And the reason that I put these in with the katana is because I don't want to get top coat over the facets, which I'm afraid I would do if I put them in with the brush. Since these are pixies and not bubbles. So then just push them into the shape of your flower and put them into cure.
Nice. Lots of tips. Thank you, Holly.
So when you're finished, you can have some fun yellow roses with that metallic background. And the roses were inspired by Shalina's look, and the metallic background was inspired by the colors of Shalina's look. So you don't have to exactly copy what you see from the Fashion Week nails. You can use those Fashion Week nails as inspiration. Does that all make sense? Are we all on the same page? Yes, no, maybe.
Okay. Yeah, I think everybody seemed pretty good. Did you guys have any questions or thoughts or comments or tips and tricks that we should know about that we don't yet?
Yes.
Always looking for good tips.
Right? You never know too much.
No, it's always learning. I don't know what I'm going to learn next, but I'm going to learn something. So please share your work. And chalkboard nails, I can't wait to see yours. Winnie, I know I love all of your guys' work. And please share.
Yes. And I will try to figure out how to save these. And if they don't get saved, I will make tutorials.
There you go. Thank you, guys. Thank you for joining us. And yes, thank you. I'm glad. I hope you take away a tip or two that you will try on soon. And we'd love to hear how it goes.
Yes. And put your tips and tricks in the caption. Share.
Bye, guys.
Bye.